When I first started my career path in higher education, I attended a small college, West Virginia Wesleyan College. It was founded by the Methodist denomination. It was then that I was really confronted with this faith. As I walked around campus and through the large Wesley Chapel, stepped down the steps that surround the statue of John Wesley in the center of campus, and attended Bible study that was started and led by the school's Methodist chaplain, I started to understand a little more about Methodism and that faith. Later, after college, I began to teach United States history to high schoolers, and it was through this experience that it registered in my brain how impactful Methodism had been to the religious atmosphere of the early United States. Methodism began in the 18th century in England, due primarily to the preaching and teaching of the brothers John and Charles Wesley. They first came to America to the colony of Georgia in the 1730s, preaching to the natives there. Future Methodist ministers were sent to America afterwards, and the Methodist movement played a huge role in the First and Second Great Awakenings. From Francis Asbury and Thomas Coke to the circuit riding preachers and the camp meeting revivals, the Methodist Awakening, or the Great Awakening, was only the start of the Methodist growth in America. In fact, it wasn't until after the religious revivals of the 18th century that Methodism soon began to grow, and it would become the fastest growing denomination in America. In 1776, the number of religious adherents in America that followed the Methodist faith amounted to 10,500, a little over 10,500 people. That's 2.5% of church members at the time. Fast forward 75 years later, in 1850, the adherents of the Methodist faith had reached over 2.6 million. That was now 34% of church members in America. So it went from 2.5% to 34% of church members, and this made them the largest religious body in the nation at the time. Today, the Methodist religion, or the Methodists, are still one of the most populous denominations in America. So why is the growth of the Methodist faith even important? How did they change the course of American history? Well, we're going to talk about two reasons, and the first one is the fact that they were so influential in the Great Awakening, in the movements of religious revival. And these revivals completely changed the religious atmosphere of America. And it was due in part to the preachings of the Methodists that Americans were encouraged to make their own personal connections with God instead of just blindly relying so much on their preachers at the time. It's going to impact the course leading up to the American Revolution because of this. The Great Awakening and the Methodist revivals are going to help unify the colonies together. And it's going to encourage nationalism before the American Revolution in the 1770s. Another value that the Methodists had was, and still have, is education. John Wesley himself greatly valued education, especially education for children. He wrote manuals, he started schools, he started homes for children, but he also understood that to keep the education going, you have to also educate them as they become adults. And so following his convictions, later Methodists and the Methodist Church will invest a lot of time and money into higher education. Francis Asbury, Thomas Coke, they started the Cokesbury College, which was one of the first Methodist colleges in the United States. By the time of the Civil War, the Methodist faith had founded over 200 schools in America. And today they support 117 schools, colleges, and universities across the United States. Methodists still today preach to and teach minds all across our country, and today I am a result of that. Little did I know when I first started college and higher education that I would be a product of the Methodist Church. You could even say the person I am today is a product of the Wesleys, the Great Awakening, the Methodist denomination, because they founded a school. That, even though it has changed over the years, provided me with the education to go on and teach other people. And so I am only one of many who have been impacted for centuries by the Methodist Church and those who will be impacted for years to come.